Hello and welcome back. I just posted a video of my updated backpack setup, and that's actually pretty simple. It's mostly a fancy packing cube because I need something to carry my clothes in, but this is really the heart and soul of my stuff. In my bag, I covered all my clothes and some of my larger electronics and kind of use case. But in my system, this is kind of the heart of the system. It doesn't really matter what bag is used. This isn't really a review of this bag in particular, although it's great. I actually came from the TomTalk T33, which I've used since May of last year every day. This is a phenomenal bag. Um, there was one thing I wanted to be able to do with my fanny pack, and I wanted to carry a very specific item, and this section was not big enough for that. Um, but otherwise, this it has been my favorite fanny pack up until I got something a little bit bigger, which would help facilitate carrying that larger item somewhere in the back that is a little bit better suited for it. So this is the REI Ruck Sling. I actually think it's called the Ruck Pack Sling. This is a 7-liter fanny pack or sling bag. It does have this padded strap more suited for a sling, but it tightens tight enough that if you really wanted to carry it as like a traditional fanny pack, you absolutely could. And I do sometimes, or I have sometimes, but most of the time I'm actually carrying it by the handle. So to give you a little bit of a size comparison. So this is 7 liters. I believe this is 3.5 liters. You can tell there's quite the difference. But for my use case, I actually wanted the size because it doesn't bother me to have to carry something a little bigger. But for some reason, it's funny because I'll carry a 7-liter sling, no problem. But you want to give me a 12-liter or an 18-liter backpack? I'm like, that's ridiculous. I don't understand why. Just the way my brain works, I guess. But the general features of this, it's I think it's they claim it's meant for more travel than EDC or hiking, but I think it's just because of the size. It's got 2 carrying straps down here, which I have used to carry a water bottle. I haven't really used it to carry anything else. It's got this massive front pocket. This is the bulk of the size, and it's probably the most empty part of this whole thing. It has this back section, which I keep empty unless I want to put my thing in here so I don't have to carry it on body. If I'm dressed a particular way or in shorts, I just can't. I want to keep it with me. And then the main pocket of this is where most of my stuff is, um, and what I typically will primarily live out of this section here. So the way I use this is I actually keep all of my daily essentials in here. If I need to stay the night somewhere and I don't need a change of clothes, I really just need to take this. Anything you would need for your hygiene or um, electronics, day-to-day charging, even most of like the medications for headaches or dry eyes or allergies or even cold and flu, I've got in here. So I can just take this and go as long as I don't need a change of clothes. And I can stay for as long as I don't need that. So I typically will just open this up and kind of leave it on the ledge of, I have like a section in my house that's got a big, just a flat spot in between rooms, and I will leave it there. And I just come to this, grab what I need, and leave. And then at the end of the day, everything goes back in here. So this is kind of like my EDC caddy, but it's also the core of most of my stuff I use throughout the day, plus a couple of little extra features. Transitioning from this, which is just organization heaven, I loved this kind of setup. It's got this big plush zip here. It's got 2 meshies here, big one here. I really like this front compartment because it's got some organization, it's got a little bit of a dump, and then it's got this back section. There are some very similar features in this one. You've got your front zip pouch, you've got your two here, here. The big change I've noticed is in this front section. This front section is massive. And so what I used to keep in here is just, it's so small, it just kind of like falls in and just kind of sits there. But this part is pretty reminiscent of how I used this section. And it works out really well. So it transferred one to one and it gives me a lot of extra flexibility. So this was mostly empty. Um, so opening this up, what do I have that's obvious? First, I have a Peak Design packable tote. That is for just random groceries. If I pick something up and I can't carry, don't want to carry it, just whatever. Everybody knows what a packable tote's for. Packable tote things. And then I've got this separated out. And this is kind of like my electronics. This is actually in the wrong spot. So this is actually like my electronics section. This is my hygiene. And then back here is kind of like the extra kind of just in case items. That was in the wrong spot too. What the heck? Unless you just dumped it out. And then this is all of my toiletries. So all my medicines and other little tiny ditties, which I can go through one by one, but there's quite a lot in there. So I might skip through that a little faster. There is this big open part in the bottom. I don't generally use that for anything. That's just kind of like, it's kind of like open space because I like to keep all that stuff in these individual sections. So in my electronics, I use this Anchor battery bank. So this one is, I don't know if it'll show here or not, but this is a 10,000 milliamp battery bank. It's got the built-in cable. The reason I like this so much is it's fast charging, but it's also, I also use it as my charging block because you can plug this into the wall to just charge the bank, but you can also do pass through and charge your device. Almost all of my devices are USB-C at this point, but some of them are proprietary, and I can kind of cover that with my whole dongle setup. But this is primarily how I charge everything. I charge my phone, my watch with dongle, my flashlight, all that. I charge it from this. Then I just charge this separately. I don't generally do pass through unless I'm in a spot where I can easily drop whatever it is off and just kind of let it charge. But normally, I just plug it into this somewhere on the table, whatever, let it charge all the way, and then I take this out and recharge just this. But it's really nice to have that flexibility to use this as both the battery bank and the actual plug or block. Then this is just a little zip pouch. And inside here, I have all my little dongles. I've got a little USB-C stick for a card reader, so I can watch my dash cam videos from my phone. Here is my Olight charging cable. This it shows like electrical wattage and stuff, so I can plug this in, and it lets me know voltage, wattage, discharge rates, all of that. I just like to know. So you plug your USB-C here, and then you plug this into your device, and it'll tell you how fast or slow it's charging, its overall capacity, all that stuff. Just a fun little tinker tool. This is for my phone. It doesn't have a headphone jack, so I plug USB-C to the standard headphone jack. Believe it or not, this is actually a flashlight. I actually have to use a USB-C adapter because I don't have anything USB-A, but then these little LEDs will light up and then you have the button on the back to change the color. This is like absolute emergency scenario. Because I don't have the USB-A or USB-A, I have to use this adapter to plug it into my phone, but it gives me an alternate option for lighting. And then of course the USB-A to USB-C. This is for my Garmin watch. That way I can use USB-C instead of having to have a proprietary plug. A little beat up. The casing and stuff all fell apart, but it still works okay. Then I've got the opposite USB-C to USB-A, USB-C to micro USB. So this I only really use for my older electronics and for other people. I have one headlamp that I use this for, and I believe my dog's shock collar that or training collar that we use for like the vibrational training. It uses US or the micro USB, and that's all that I use that for. This is the micro to USB-C. So if any older electronics, again, if I need that? I actually haven't really used that one in a long time because I don't really have the micro USB cables anymore. And this is for my Apple Pencil. It is Lightning to C. And then this is USB-C to Lightning. So between the combination of all of these little dongles, I can pretty much charge anything. Now, the only limitation I have run into is actually data transfer, just because it fits into an opening on the computer, it does not mean that it transfers data. I've run into that quite a bit. And my beard trimmer, for some reason, I can only use the USB-A to USB-C cables. If I try and use the USB-C to USB-C to charge it, it's a USB-C port, but it will not charge with a USB-C to USB-C. If I try and do it, it won't recognize it. It has to be USB-A to USB-C. I think it has something to do with a specific voltage. I'm not sure. But this is my primary USB-C charging cable. It is a U-green charging cable. I got it from my old block. It's a good size. I don't need something super long because I have this one, but I can also plug two devices and plug it into here and then charge another device as well, which I do fairly often. And then over here is my toiletries. My toiletries in this everyday section is pretty minimal. I just have toothpaste. This is actually an old zip tie, heavy duty zip tie. I use it as a tongue scraper. And then my folding toothbrush and this is my dental hygiene setup. I do have floss sticks that I use, but I don't keep them in here. They're usually in my pant pocket for whatever reason. Then I have hand sanitizer and some gum. And I do have uh, some of my eye drops that I've already gotten open. I've got some unopened ones in the big pouch, but ever since I've gotten LASIK, I feel like having my eye drops on hand is usually a good thing. My eyes tend to be a little bit more sensitive to dryness after LASIK, and so I like to have that in there. In the back, I just have a typical grocery bag. This is a pretty heavy duty grocery bag that I can use for all kinds of things. I use them for travel all the time. I use them to hold shoes or garbage or this or that. This is a really heavy duty one. So it's strong enough to do bigger, heavier things, but it's also disposable in that same sense. I like having one of these instead of a traditional one because these just last a heck of a lot longer. And between these two, I can pretty much get an entire load of groceries out of the car without having to come in. And then I do have some medical things, some quick clot, some Steri-strips, and some typical Band-Aids in here. I like to have them. I've only ever really used these, but I don't know. I'm kind of an over preparer, as you can probably guess. And then a little strip of duct tape on an old card. And this is that USB-A to USB-C. And the only reason I keep this is for my trimmer. I hate it. I don't know why they do it. But if I could find a way to convert it to work with my USB-C to USB-C, I would. But until then, I just got to drag this along with me. And then this is kind of a hodgepodge, a bit of a mess. Inhaler, got asthma. I've got a little thing of face lotion that I just refill from whatever face lotion we have in the house at the time. I've got powder, so when we're hiking or anything, it helps prevent chafing. Travel, I will use this to help control moisture when you're sitting. Guys, if you know, you know. I do have some ibuprofen and Tylenol, some allergy medicine, and 2 aspirin in here as emergency. I I do also have some Zyrtec, just kind of in this little case. I think it used to be for earbuds, but I use it for this. It's perfect size. Homemade deodorant. My homemade deodorant I have not used store-bought deodorant in probably 5 years, maybe longer at this point, who knows. Um, it is just coconut oil and baking soda and a little bit of essential oils. It works really well. I've had no issues and it's really cheap and I can refill this whenever I need. I've got some Lumify. I have to do video calls often, and if I've got red eyes for whatever reason due to the dryness and allergies, I like to be able to clear it up before jumping onto a call. My travel cologne spray. This thing is awesome. Most colognes that I like, they're cheaper in larger bottles, so I can refill this. Very cool. I do keep caffeine pills for travel, like usually car driving, all that. If I don't want to drink a coffee, but I need a little bit of a pick me up, I've got a couple of caffeine pills there. A level. Obviously, it's not going to be the most accurate level, but I like to tinker around and help people, and this has come in handy quite a bit. Got salt and pepper here, and then garlic powder here. I want seasoned food, and if it's not seasoned properly, I just don't enjoy it. No spray. This one's random. A glue stick. You can use a lighter and melt this glue and fix anything that you can fix with glue. So handy. I've gone through at least 4 of these in the most random ways. And this one obviously has been used, but I keep them in here and I use them. You can fix fabrics, you can fix plastics, you can do temporary fixes, just all the things, and it won't go bad. And all you need is a little bit of a lighter to melt the glue, and you can fix practically anything that doesn't require like industrial strength. I do keep these earbuds for general travel, or if I'm just having a rough night due to exterior noise. This is kind of my little keychain tools. USB. I need to upgrade to the USB-C version of this, but it's really nice to have. I think this is like 128 gig. Really nice to have a USB flash drive on you. I've got tweezers. These are the Uncle Bill's tweezers. These are the best tweezers of all time. Victorinox nail clippers. I don't really love them because like this whole scraping part, the functionality's fine, but this is awkward and they're really difficult to use, but they work well. They fold flat and they're good quality. And then my little Olight flashlight. I don't think this thing even works anymore. No, it doesn't. I think it's just the batteries are dead. And then I've got a little digital thermometer. I just like to know the temp, just for knowledge and data funness. Got a additional way of telling temperature, which is just a little button thermometer. I used to keep this on my watch, and then I just stopped because I don't need to know it all the time. So having this in reference, I usually will keep something like this in my tent or in my car, and then this outside somewhere so I can kind of see the difference between the two. Multivitamin. I just take a multivitamin with me in most places. I take one every day. It may or may not be a waste of money. I'm still undecided on that, but I like to have them in case I'm on a bad, unhealthy food streak when I'm traveling. It's kind of just a moral boost, I guess. I don't know how to describe that. They potentially are just absolutely useless. This is an antihistamine eye drop. So I have 3 eye drops, all for different things. I don't want to take an antihistamine if it's just because of red. If it's just dryness, I don't want to have to put this medicated stuff in my eye. So I have a couple of different eye drops. But like I said, ever since LASIK, the sensitivity to discomfort in my eyes has gone up a bit. But I do not regret getting LASIK. Probably the best thing I've ever done for my eyes. And then I do also have a compass, a little button compass. It's always just nice to have. I do have my phone, of course, but being able to manually read a compass is really nice. And then I've got a bunch of allergy medication. because I've also got Dramamine for travel. I get motion sick really easy. And then a bunch of allergy medication. I actually don't use cold medication like the pre-box stuff. I just will take an allergy medicine with Tylenol, ibuprofen, and just between those combination of medications, I can pretty much do the same thing as um, like cold medicine, but I can only take the medicine for the part or the symptoms I'm feeling. And so I like to have them separate. And then extra eye drops. In this front compartment, these are actually dog poop bags. I just like to have a roll. I've got a dog, so it's nice to have. My Chicago comb carbon fiber for beard and hair. Always have a notebook. My emergency whistle in case somebody wants to try and diddle me. Contacts. I don't wear contacts. On the right is cortisone. On the left is Vaseline. I use it for my lips and for bug bites and stuff. Wired headphones. If my Bluetooth headphones that I usually wear stop working, then I can use wired headphones. Got some folding scissors. These are awesome. Got a little pen. Always nice to have a writing utensil. This made a little sheath for my little pencil. This thing has been through hell and back, but it's worked out really well. And I have this little grab handle. So always have a pencil on me as well. And then for the glue stick and other fire needs, a lighter. And I always keep this with me. It's just like a string with a tie tab, but you'd be surprised how often something like this comes in handy to lash something to my bag or to my car or to while I'm filming or whatever it may be. Having something like this where it's like a quick lash is really handy and it doesn't take up much space. So I just toss it in there. And I've got one of these baby carabiners. And that's it. So that's basically the heart of my everyday, all my everyday belongings. And I've essentially 80% of my day is just coming back and forth to this to grab my stuff. Most of the other stuff that's in my backpack is like a once a day, maybe twice a day thing, but this is primarily what I live out of. And it's got plenty of extra room for stuff, extra carabiner. I've got a daughter, so I usually keep a couple of these on my fanny pack. Yeah, it's great. It's probably overkill. I'm not going to lie. But it's my style. I've been doing this a long time, and this system has worked out really, really well. But if you've got ideas, thoughts, or honestly just want to say how crazy I am, all that's fine. You can do it in the comments. I will respond to anything I deem viable to respond to. But also, if you got any cool ideas of yourself of how you've kind of kept stuff simple but also useful, let me know. I'm all ears. So thank you for joining me, and hope to see you guys around.